Good morning and welcome to the final round draw of the round robin portion of the 2020 GNCC Mixed Championship here in Rochester, New York. This is Wayne Anderson. I'll be commentating today for you. And today we have on sheet C, the featured sheet for this streaming, we have from Potomac, Team Shaw. They'll be throwing the Red Rocks and they'll be playing Team Crumay out of Utica. This is 7 teams in the competition. This is like I say, the final draw. So everyone will play 6 games. Currently, Team Casper is at a perfect 5-0 record. Team Pulley at 4-1. Team Crumay in there at 3-2. Mars Chulo at 3-3, Team Shaw at 2-3, Team Mooney at 1-4, and Team Prohaska at 0-5. I thought in previous games when I was announcing, I thought that the round robin, as long as there was a clear winner, there was no playoff, and that is true to the extent, however, that you are not eliminated until you have 2 losses. So in this case, Casper, the worst they can come out after today's round is a 5-1 record. The best Pooley can do is 5-1. If that is the case, Casper could be 6-0 and Pooley at 5-1. So even though Casper would be the best record after the round robin, Team Pulley still is in there, and that they have to have 2 losses before this event is over. And so they would continue to... One team has 2 losses. So that was Audrey Foote throwing lead rocks for Team Crumay. And now for Team Shaw is Stephen Ennickson from Potomac. Being asked to come around, and it'd be really nice if he could Christmas tree this, i.e. have a straight line of rocks from the blue guard to his red rock on the tee line. Looks like it's going to completely bury behind the blue guard, which I'm sure he's not unhappy about either. Biting top button. Very nice. So Jason Golubsky, also from Utica, removing one of the red rocks. Team Shaw debating whether to draw another one around the center or to draw down on the corner, and as you can see by the broom, he's elected to put another one around the center guard. They do have hammer. So it wouldn't have been a terrible thing. I can understand why he was thinking possibly freezing or even hitting the rock on the wings. But again, it really gets down to calling shots that you think your team has the best chance of making, and coming around this center guard and laying another one in the top 8 foot there would be fine. just a little light, caught the guard on the way by. Unfortunately, although it didn't move it much, it does make it a little easier for Team Cremay to now come around and tap it through. All right, Jason, looks like a nice control weight. I like this. If he does hit something, then all likelihood his shooter will stay in the rings. Right now, they're waiting for it to curl, however, and not sure it's going to take the break. So does Rec. Ends up with another center guard, which isn't the worst thing since they don't have Hammer, having two guards out front there on the center line. It's unfortunate right now, though, that Team Shaw does have a scoring rock in behind. All right, that's Julie DiBaggio. Very nice coming around, accumulating a couple of rocks in behind those center guards. Looks like it could be hit. Probably wouldn't remove both of them. But right now, they're electing to come around the other side. Melissa Foote throwing this rock. And just a fine effort. Rolled off that one, so they can see about 3/4 of that rock. And with that broom, just being asked for a nice control weight takeout. Control weight, I'm looking for about 10.5 seconds from hog to hog on here, which is a nice weight for everyone to have in their repertoire of shots. On and off sweeping, so I'd say it's looking pretty good. Very nice. Excellent, in fact. Exactly what was requested. Red Rock's starting to pile up here. Looks like they're trying to run back the Blues. Nose hit would, that's a little wide. Good things can happen here too if it goes by the guards. But it is on the guard, but it's only going to hit the one. So the Shaw's splitting back end duties here. We have Melvin skipping the game, but throwing third rocks. Courtney vicing and throwing last rocks. Melvin looking to just come down, pile another one on top. Sweepers not too interested in sweeping this one at this point in time. Doesn't really want to tap that rock and roll to the right, making a wider target for everything. But that's pretty nice. One of the things, try and tell my junior teams is that you go into every end with a goal, and without hammer, their goal in this opening end, from the crewmate's perspective without hammer, would have been to force the Shaw rink to take one, get the hammer back, and hopefully score one or more with hammer in the second end. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and you have to not give up on achieving your goal and go for an acceptable outcome, which with not having hammer, giving up 2 is very acceptable. You really don't want to end up with an unacceptable outcome, which would be giving up more than 2. So I like this call here. It's very doable on here to nose that rock, red rock on the right. Got to keep it out there though, and eliminate 2 reds. Keep it out. Looking good. Sweep that one out. Sweep it. Multiple rocks going. It is difficult to figure out which is the most important rock to sweep, but it turned out 2 reds eliminated. A great call, great execution. Getting close now to where it might be possible to avoid that unacceptable outcome of giving up more than 2 rocks when you don't have hammer. Courtney in a nice position here. Looking line 2, looking at eliminating the most dangerous blue rock if they should ever decide they wanted to tap that one on their last one rather than hitting. I don't think they would do that, but this still makes a lot of sense. Eliminate the rock inside the 4-foot in the top of the house and lie 3. And if she can hit on the nose and stick, even if Team Kume was fortunate enough to hit and roll off of the red on the left into the 4-foot on the center line, she would have a rock that she could run. There it is. So even if they get a hit and a roll off of the red on the left there to the center line for shot rock, then Courtney on her last one could come down, slash the red that she just threw into the button, and still take 3. So the objective here would be to eliminate a red rock. I don't see an easy double at this point in time. I'm sure if you had to eliminate 2 rocks, you could come up with a scenario. But what I'm really hopeful is that a red rock is eliminated and the blue stays as either first or second count. Force the Shaw rink to actually make a shot to get their 3. And that's good enough. It's forcing Courtney now to actually have to hit and roll off of that rock in order to get her 3rd point. Just increasing the degree of difficulty a little bit before an unacceptable outcome is incurred by Team Kume. There are occasions where it doesn't really make that much difference whether you hit and roll out. For example, if there's only 1 rock in play and the other team's a good hitting rink, if you don't have hammer and you hit and roll out, well, even if you had stayed, the other team is going to make the open hit, so it's no big deal. But in this particular case here, it was really key to keep that shooter in play, because the other team now has to make a shot. A little harder than just a draw to the bike paint. Sweepers are liking it. Skip's liking it. Now they're going harder. Now they're going harder. And there you have it. All right. By sticking that last shot, forcing them to hit it, make a hit on the outside and stay, they avoided what I consider an unacceptable outcome, giving up more than 2. And giving up 2 when you don't have hammer, that's very acceptable. So they should come away feeling pretty good about that, Team Crumay. And also Team Shaw should feel pretty good about the end. They know they could have had another point there, but they should still feel good. Scored 2 in the first end, and they have hammer. Getting a crooked number, that's what you want. We do have 2 other games going on here today. Over on Sheet A, we have Team Mooney from Plainfield against Team Pulley from Rochester. And as we've said on previous broadcasts here, they are being called Team Mooney less because Mark Mooney unfortunately had work commitments that did not make it possible for him to be here, and so they're having to play with 3, not allowed by the rules here in this mixed doubles play-down competition to bring in a sub, and that's always a challenge when you're up against tough competition and you're trying to get by with 3 and just that one sweeper out there all week. So Pulley needs that win in this last round robin to keep from falling into having 2 losses and being eliminated from the possibility of winning this competition.
Just slow it right down.
On Sheet B, which is also a stream sheet, there'd be no commentating on it, but if you wanted to pull that one up to see how things are going occasionally, that has Team Prohaska against the junior team of Danny Casper, which is undefeated, as I said, at this point in time. Danny's got players from all over the GNCC. He's from Ardsley. He has Susan Dutt throwing third rocks, although they have changed around a bit. Also have players from Potomac and Broomstones.
Take the curly side, not try and do that against the straight side.
So again, Audrey Foote being asked to draw around the center guard. Sweeper's going hard. Just that little bit light again. I think the line would have been pretty good if it just had a little more weight. It would have come around. And I don't think Melvin's too unhappy about where that blue rock ended up. He's already got a couple of rocks inside the 4 foot inside the 4 foot lines, and now coming around the center guard that was just thrown. And with that rock that jumped right away. Don't know whether there's a release or a pick, but it is all over that center guard. Continuing to want to come around the center guard. This time asking Jason to do that. Sweepers going pretty hard on it. Needing to do so for line. It's close. It's, just rubbing. And again, the weight would have been pretty nice. Would have certainly gone full 8, even maybe possibly 4 foot if it just not whipped off the guard. Eric just continuing to try and keep the pedal to the metal, going for get a scoring rock on the center line behind the guards. All right, not a lot of rotation on this rock, but it does have the right rotation. We are by the guards this time. Coming down. But really didn't finish. The rotation sort of was being lost at the end. Didn't quite finish as hard as you would want. That's something to watch for when you're throwing rocks. Watch how, from the hog line in, how much the rock is rotating. Lots of times I see rocks that don't have any rotation by the time they're approaching the house. But that rock is nicely thrown, forcing Team Shaw, Melvin, to come down and just play a tap on it. Courtney likes the line. They're going hard now for weight. Boy, don't think so. Not where they wanted that, but they are making it difficult to get another in the 4 foot. But right now, he doesn't really need another one in the 4 foot. He gets one almost full 12. What he is worried about is Team Shaw coming along and tapping a red rock up, but I wouldn't have a problem with him coming around the outside from the right, from the thrower's perspective, and putting another counter in. Anyway, I think he's trying to put things up so that Team Shaw cannot promote a rock. Trying to get a rub off that guard. One of the things to always remember when you're trying to put guards up, that lots of times people think that sweeping keeps a rock straight. Well, that is only true before the rock takes its break. After it's taken its break, the more you sweep, the more you're continuing to have it over curl. So if you're wanting the rock to stop on a line, you're worried that it's over curling. If the break has already been taken, sweeping is just going to make it go further in the direction that it's going, and therefore even break more. Piling another rock out front. Don't think that's really what Courtney was looking for. And there we go. Especially with those staggers now, the only way Team Shaw has a way of getting in there is to slash the wide red rock. And I agree with this. Come around, put another one. It only has to be biting 8 foot to be a good rock here. And an old nemesis from my junior competition days, Clark Raven, standing here saying yes, and back 8 would be completely safe because, of course, if it stops top 8 and is exposed enough, and if it is top 8, probably it would be partial. They've got to go to get it by the red. Top 8, they could slash and get rid of both blues. Back 8, all they can do is cut them down to 1. So that's why Clark usually beat me in curling competitions. So right away, just like Clark was talking about, you stop that rock in the top, and the slash is being looked at by Shaw. It's rather a defensive one. It's almost as easy to slash the red one in, but this does eliminate the possibility of that blue being tapped in on the next turn by the groom rink. All right, rocks underway by Courtney. Sweepers being called on. Afraid it's just over curling a bit. Close, but they did line up the 2 red rocks. And how much room do they have? I think they could throw. A little drag effect would send it a little bit over the top, but I think they would still get it if Shaw on their next one were to decide to try and hit those 2 rocks. Mind you, just as easy maybe to slash the red on the right in. So either one of those, they'll have an opportunity to put a red rock closer to the button, possibly eliminate the blue counter. Right now, Eric, it'd be nice to get another counter there because red does have 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th shots sitting there right now. And if they did eliminate that blue, it's going to be a lot of points going up if he can't put his last one in the rings. This one's looking a little warm. Sweepers aren't too interested in putting their brooms down just yet. But Clark would say, that's okay if it goes to the back of the house. Just don't hit those red ones up there, folks. Unfortunately, they're just making the bang, bang, bang even. That's bad. They've just exposed more of the rock available for Courtney to hit here. And if she hits that blue rock, bad things are going to happen for Team Crumay. So I was fooled by the speed of that rock, just like the sweepers seem to be. Communication and judging the rock is so important. You get a front end who really takes pride in judging the speed of rocks and communicating that to the skip and getting that line exactly right. Makes life a whole lot easier for the skip and the team in making precise shots. But right now, like I say, I'm pretty sure if Courtney with any weight hits that blue rock, it doesn't matter that she can only see half of it. Red is going to be counting 4. Looking pretty good right now. Just caught a piece of it. Not enough to move the rocks hard enough. So Eric breathes a sigh of relief, and I'm sure right now he's not looking at scoring 2. He's just very thankful he's got that 1 in there. I think this is an opportunity to save little clock and just throw it away. Cowbell's going over on sheet A there. That means Team Pulley must have done something good. Got the local fans all excited. Rochester rink. Indeed, I do see a whole slew of rocks over there on sheet A. There is a pulley rock on the top half of the button, however, with a lot of rocks out front. So indeed, we have Eric doing the smart thing here, not wasting time, just throwing it away. There's nothing good that was going to happen by trying to score another point. Only bad stuff possible. So, glad to see it. We have a 1-1 ball game. Make it more exciting as we go down, get into the stretch later on. Give you the scores on sheet A and B after they both finish the second end coming up. Again, you can follow the scoreboard, I think, on Curling Zone. Dorothy does a great job here of updating Curling Zone pretty promptly. So over on sheet A, Team Pulley did take one in the first end, and they managed to steal that 1 point in end two, so that after 2 ends of play, they're up 2-0. And I just can't see the scoreboard. Oh, yes, now I can. We have Danny Casper's rink. They took 3 in the first, and it looks like I think they stole 2 in the second to go up. Oops, no, stole 3 in the second. My eyesight not quite that good. So they're up 6-0 after 2 ends of play. Just a very strong rink. They've all just come off of a week at Junior Nationals a few weeks ago, and then 3 of them were at men's or women's nationals in Spokane just a week ago. All great curlers. And when they get a lead of 6-0, it sort of just falls into their strength after that. Just see an opposition rock after the free guard zone. 3 rocks have expired. They all start hitting. Eric asking Audrey to, I think he was asking her to come into the house. Maybe asking for a center line guard. I like that a lot better. Yeah, very nice shot. So Melvin having a choice of 2 guards to go around. He does have his corner there. He could have come around from outside in. Or he is elected to come around the center guard. Both are acceptable. Beat the opposition to the top of the 4-foot on the center line is one thing. But a lot of times teams never get to use the corner guard they put up. So when you do get an opportunity, sometimes it's good to jump on it. Eric asking Jason Golubsky to come through the port. Sweeper's going on this one pretty early on. Going to need to do it for line, maybe also for weight. But comes up light, but not the worst case. He has another rock inside the 4-foot lines, and he doesn't have hammer, so not all bad. Melvin debating about all those rocks on the inside the 4-foot lines, about clearing them or coming through. He's elected to try and come through the port. Asking Julia DeBaggio to do it. And she is the non-Potomac member of this rink. Curls out of the Mayfield Curling Club. And look at this. Right through the port. Does she have the weight? It's... Ooh. Good effort. Eric thinking about rearranging the rocks out front. I don't know. Now he's saying come through the hole. Yes, I'd leave it up to Melvin to start clearing the front. Eric without hammer, I think this is the right choice. That port isn't that big, but it's at least a rock and a half. If it did happen to overcurl, that would be the pro side because he'd be raising his own rock. Being wide and raising the Shaw ring rock in would not be an ideal situation. The sweeper's going now though, so line must be good, or at least not on the red rock. Oh, look at that. Great shot. And we don't have any cowbells over here on sheet C. Can I get a cowbell from over on sheet A, please? There you go. That was cowbell worthy, that shot. All right, Melvin now has no choice but to clear that, start clearing rocks out front. Having hammer, you know you can go for it, but don't say, oh, let's come through with just tap weight and moving it. No, let's just rearrange that deck down there. Julia throwing what I'd call control hit. That's enough to move rocks around. We'll see what happens. That's great. That's great. Even though it put a blue rock in the house, she actually ended up promoting a red into button. But that's not what I'm most excited about. What I'm most excited about is now there are no rocks between the 4-foot lines out front. And for the Shaw rink, who has hammer, that is fantastic. All right. Now it's conceivable that Team Creme will be line 3 after this shot if they just so desire to take the red out. But they're totally exposed to the Shaw rink, and the Shaw rink will have the ability to score if they can make open hits. We have a member of the ice crew. I've been complimenting the ice all week. What do we got going on out there today? Anything surprising on the ice that you can share, or is that secret stuff?
No surprise. It's going to be a little warmer today, though, so I expect a little slowdown.
All right. No surprises yet, but like a true Iceman, he knows what the weather is going to be outside and the implications that might have. With a little warmer and more humid outside, that can change the frost conditions in here. So we'll keep an eye on that since the day progresses. If Team Pulley does manage to win over in Sheet A, there will be more curling after this draw. If they do not manage to win that, though, the competition will be over. And Team Annie and Casper will be moving on to Minnesota to Chaska Curling Club. That's where the National 2020 Mixed Curling Championships will be held. Beautiful club there. Great viewing area. You can dine in the restaurant right behind any of the 4 sheets. So again, even though Team Shaw is not counting at the present time, in fact, it's possible that Team Creme, if this rock ends up counting, they may be looking at 2 opposition counters. I still like the fact that there is nothing anywhere inside the 4-foot lines until this rock is thrown. And that rock, nicely thrown, but it's about 3/4 available. 2 ways of going at this. You could come down with sort of back hack weight and move the rock out. But running the red back, I like this too. I really like it. You hit it on the nose, you are going to remove the blue rock. You hit it on the side, you're going to not have any rocks out front of the house. And Team Creme will be forced to use a rock to put a guard back up. Over curling a bit, you can hear the shouting on the sweeping. Not the worst case, got rid of 1 blue counter, but the downside of that is that the shooter stayed and rolled just slightly in front of the blue counter that remains. Now, I like this call here, too. All right. We're looking at first skip rock coming here. Team without the hammer. Line 1 guarded. And what's there? We got back to having a goal for the end. And I think you'll remember me saying that when you don't have hammer, and the score such as this, just 1-all early in the game, your goal really is not to steal. Your goal is to force the other team to just take 1 and get the hammer back. Now this rock, just like Clark said before, has to get beyond the other blue counter. It stopped actually short enough that the double's difficult, and I don't think they would bother with it. They'll go back to the run back. But if it had gone another foot and a half, then the double would be set up. It would have been nice to see that rock go beyond the tee line, and at that point in time, you've got the force on looking pretty good. But anyway, we'll see what Courtney does here on the run back attempt. They've seen what the ice does one time down this pretty much the same path. Probably the broom is in about 6 inches from before. On and off sweeping. They're not calling any sweeping yet, but the weight is down. All right, so although the run back was not made, that's the next best scenario, is that the guard disappeared and the shooter rolled away, which pretty well had to happen in that case. If it didn't remove the shot rock, the shooter had to roll. So Eric, 2 choices here. A lot of teams might guard that rock. Other teams might remove the red. Other teams might draw out to the other side for 2. I like eliminating the red. You eliminate the red, you're counting 3. And the most the other team can get is 1 if you eliminated the red rock. So I think 99.9% of curlers would have elected what Eric did. And that red one is Gone. And mission accomplished. So Courtney says, let's remove the shot rock. A nose hit will do it. She can roll a few inches to the left. A lot more ability if she rolls right. But she's going to be throwing, I'm going to guess, a 10.5. I'd like to see her throw a 10.5 second takeout here. That's a nice control weight. Shooter, if it hits slightly off nose, might not go too far. Depending on ice conditions, you can even throw a little less, but 10.5 if things run pretty true. Yelling out of the hand, though, that's not a good sign. That means he was not happy with the release. Little inside. The weight was 10.8. Nothing wrong with the weight, but that release. So there you go, a steal of one. So there's 4 possibilities when you're doing your end plan. You've got a goal, and like I said, for Team Crumay in that end, it was to force Shaw to take 1. Shaw's goal was to score 2 or more, all right? But to score 2 was the goal. Or blanking would have been all right. It was the third end and tied ball game. Nothing wrong with blanking that. Lots of times when the team sees it gets down to skip rocks and it's not likely to get 2, they'll just say, okay, let's have the goal to blank it and move on and score in 4. Acceptable outcome for the team without hammer was to have a blank or to have Team Shaw take 2. That would have been acceptable. On the other side, Team Shaw, an acceptable outcome, like I said, was a blank, or even scoring 1 would have been acceptable. Unacceptable for Team Crumay would have been to give up 2 or more. Unacceptable for Team Shaw would be to give up a steal of 2 or more. So giving up a steal of 1, when you're trying to get 2, if you end up giving up a steal of 1, that's still in the acceptable category. But unacceptable for the team with hammer would be to give up a steal of more than 1. And for the team without hammer, the unacceptable is let the team with hammer score more than 2. So in this end, the team without hammer, Crumay, they had a steal of 1. That's in the bonus category. And the bonus category for Team Shaw would have been to score more than 2. So Eric asking for the center line guard, got it. Team Shaw trying to be the first one to the top 4 foot. Sweeper's not interested in sweeping this rock. And actually in that case you can say, oh, they let it wreck on the guard. Well, it was going to go behind the tee line. By letting it wreck, they actually moved it off the center line, which is good, and didn't roll behind the tee line. So I like that. I especially like moving the rock off the center line. That was fine. We do have updates over on sheet A and B, and it's continuing to go one-sided on both sheets. Team Pulley stole 2 in the third end to go up 4-0, and Danny Casper's rink stole 1 to go up 7-0 on their sheet. So Melvin looking for a counting guard here, I think. I don't think he's interested in it stopping out front of the house. I would love to see this just cover half of that red and get half behind the blue. I think it's I don't think it's going to get by. All right, ends up with a perfect guard biting, not biting, but close enough to become a biter if later on they want to split it on. But we've got a lot of rocks to throw before that might become a possibility.
Wait there.
Jason having a nice rock coming around here. Very nice. I think you're going to see a red raise coming up, though. Could have got another couple of feet out of that. It would have been perfect by Jason. Melvin asking Julia for this raise. Again, just a nice control weight would be nice here. Not asking the sweepers to do anything yet. It's got to curl up a bit. Now trying to push it forward to curl. Not an ideal end result there, but I wouldn't be. Melvin was definitely not happy with that. I know the possibility of removing it was there, but he now has second and third shot. Oh no, he has shot rock. Sorry, it's the opposition that has the biter there on the side. I thought it was his rock for a moment. Sorry about that. So at this point, Eric asking for the raise takeout. Not a lot of ice. And it does swing this way. The sweepers are going, and then they'll need to keep going. Don't let them up. Keep it going. Yeah, that's been happening all week. Just a little more curl going that way than the other way, and it can never hurt to keep the brooms on it. I think maybe he had given up hitting it on the correct side and said, well, the best plan B is hoping that it continues to curl and miss everything, or at least miss the blue rock. All right, Melvin electing to draw to the wings here. He does have a choice also that he could draw around the corner on the other side and stop short of the blue rock. Might be my preference. He may be thinking that he can get the rock being thrown further away from the counter on the middle by going to the other side, however. Now they're trying to get this so that it stops about parallel with the other counter. Pretty well judged. All right, Melissa Foote, Utica Curling Club. All the Creme players are from Utica. Again, we've got the same scenario, rock curling, but I think we got a piece of this one, if not the whole. It's going to hit and roll it behind the corner. Just not shot rock, but that is sort of ideal where I was talking about coming around the corner and possibly sitting on that previous red shot. But they're going to do it now. The blue rocks aren't out counting the red on this side, so going to try and split the house here by Melvin. Weight looks nice. Pretty nice spot. I like the fact that they didn't continue to sweep that any further. The more chance of it jamming by leaving it where it is. It can be hit, though, and not jam. Eric thinking about... I thought he indicated tapping in front of the rock that he might come down on it. I would not like that. Again, does not have hammer. Avoid the unacceptable outcome. I've convinced Clark Raven to step it to the mic when we come to the end of this and tell me what's happening with junior curling here in Rochester. Clark and I go back, boy, how many years would it be? When we first battle? Clark has done so many different junior teams. The Corbett boys on the men's, but he's had Ely team on the women's side, and you always knew that when you were coming up against one of his teams, they were not only going to be technically good, but they were going to have some secret strategy to apply against you, and I knew where it was coming from. So he'll give us a little update on what's happening here. Junior curling continues to be my soft spot, something I'm really interested in. So we had a nice hit there, and that was the right call. Shaw's going to have to continue to hit and stick here to get their deuce and not give up a double. And that's the difficulty of keeping a deuce going on both sides when you're trying to get it by having a rock on both sides of the house, which we call a junior deuce, in that the team who does not have hammer can make half shots. They can hit and roll out. It doesn't affect anything. The team, you'd prefer to stay, but if you roll out, no big deal. But if the team with hammer who has got the rock on each side of the house, if they should ever make a half shot and roll out, well, there it goes. The other team removes the other rock, and all of a sudden you don't have any in the house, the team with hammer. So it's difficult to keep those. That's why lots of times you'll see teams continue to put up a corner guard to protect their one counter, and then very late, when there's not as many opportunities, where they'd have to make 100% shots rather than 50% shots, then they might go in and split the house. They're going hard on Eric, but they sort of want it to be hitting in the side, sweeping and getting the roll over the other side. Well, they could have actually eased up, but after having seen the rocks take off the other way, probably a little nervous about it over curling. But you don't get the same cut going this way. Now, the interesting thing about that hit there is it's not so bad not getting the roll, because what this has forced the Shaw rink now, if they hit that rock, they're not going to be second count. The Blues on the side are going to be out counting it. So we'll see what Melvin calls here. It looks like he's going to try and hit it and roll, but the thing is, he's probably, to get second count, he's probably going to have to roll to the side where his red rock is. I think that might be an easier way to get a biter on the 8-foot. We'll see whether it can be done the other way if it hits on the other side. All right, here it goes. He's sweeping. Now Melvin's asked him to go hard. You know what? Clark, do you think she was trying to draw to the side, which would have been very good call. You know, nothing wrong with that. If the shot had been made, I like it because, like I said, very difficult to get second count hitting. So it just came up a little bit light on that. I mean, the risk would be the other team may tap up the blue, but really they wouldn't. You don't have to worry about them doing that in all probability. again, they would probably eliminate the red counter over here, and you'd have a free draw to 1. So I really liked the call, but the execution just wasn't what they were obviously looking for. And again, right shot here, get rid of that red rock, and all of a sudden a lot of pressure on Courtney's last draw shot. I like this weight again. This is a nice firm weight. You just want to make the rock go away. You can throw a little more than 10 because this one is going to stay, but, well, I thought it was going to stay. Yes, it does. But the key in that scenario, even if they rolled out, they were line 3. They don't have hammer. 3 would be a great thing. The key was that red rock had to go, and I like the weight that he threw to make sure that happened. Yep, really only one choice. I'm sure Courtney is getting paid big bucks because that's what skips are supposed to be paid. Well, for making shots like this coming up. But never easy. Lots of times you do see big steals, and it's because teams are not concerned about letting biters accumulate to when they have hammer, thinking the last shot, well, we can still draw the rings and count them all. But you really don't want to put your skip in that position very often. Or, in this case, the person throwing last rocks in that position. And it will curl this way, so you want to make sure. I wouldn't even mind if he took another 12 inches of ice, and just, you don't want to come anywhere close to that blue rock that's on the center line. Sweeper's not touching it. Not touching it. Oh. And that's the danger of having the counters pile up. That's a tough break. A steal of 4. Team Crumay going into the break up 6-1. Tough way to finish the first half of this game for Team Shaw. We do have all the sheets taking their 4th end break right now. I didn't see scores go up on any of them, though, so we'll have to wait until after the break for that. But like I said, I'm going to try and steal Clark Raven here for the break. The teams will be off for 5 minutes here. And Clark is a resistant one. You know, Clark, he talks so much in my ear, you know, all the time. But then I put a mic in front of him, and he's saying, hey, I'm being forced to. Come on up here, Clark. Clark, you know both of our love for junior curling. Tell me a little bit. It's been a while since you and I have crossed paths to talk about junior curling here in the Rochester area. And who's running it, and how's the program going?
Well, Caitlin Pulley's running the program now here in Rochester, and it's very vital. We have probably 50 juniors in the program, ages from 11 to 19 probably at this point. A few graduating out this year to go to college, and a lot of younger curlers so far this year. I can't say much more than our program's really vital, and I know a lot of clubs that don't.
Yeah, that's great. And I always considered junior programs as a feeder program for adult membership. I've found some of the most engaged adults being parents who didn't know anything about curling, but their child wanted to do it. Their friend was junior curling. All of a sudden they get in there, and you've got great volunteers as well as parents who actually end up becoming members and curling themselves. Jay Russick, list goes on in Philadelphia.
Right. Plus we can talk about all the juniors who've come up to be adults in the program. A lot of people out of Broomstones, Leichters, Dropkins, out of Philly, your daughters, are still really active in curling. The Corbetts are still active that all come up from the junior program. So
This whole Danny Casper rink that we
Yes.
got here today,
Yeah.
going undefeated, is a great example.
yes,
You know?
yep. So it is a feeder program. It may not feed your club personally, but it'll definitely feed our sport.
Yeah. And what about, I mean, when you were doing it, you had some top rinks in the GNCC that were always contenders for going to nationals, and some did. Is there anyone in that category, or are you close enough to the junior program to know exactly what's going on with the depth of an interest in going competitive juniors?
I think at this point we might have a few potential players in the U14 program that's just got started this year. The older curlers are probably not as interested in competitive curling, but I see some younger curlers approaching that U14, probably not even the U18 yet, who, if they keep at it, they're going to really be interested. And if the interest is there, that's the main part, I think.
Well, that's one of Dave Jensen's. I mean, HP sometimes has had a bad rep in terms of not being interested in curling in the clubs and the general membership. Right. But Dave Jensen, who's in charge of the HP junior program, his main goal is, and more of his time this year, past a couple of years, has been focusing on getting the U18 program going, and now, like you say, wanting to get a U14 program going. And I know I'm coaching both a boy and a girl out of Bucks who've teamed up with players from other clubs to go to U18 nationals, and they're pumped about this, and they're out there practicing twice after school each week, plus their Saturday curling, and I'm sure other times when I'm not available, they're also out there practicing. But that's exciting. I mean, to bring it down, and like I say, that's Dave's real love. He's a great individual coach, but his real passion lately has been to get junior curling outside of just HP and focusing on a few high-performance teams and getting it out there that, hey, his belief, you get more kids interested in going to U18, U14, all of a sudden you've got a much bigger pool to select from for the best junior curlers in the country, and eventually the adults.
Yep. That's the only way we're going to get competitive internationally at this point, is to build our programs up with enough members, and not restricted to just a few individuals.
All right.
Good growth. Back to games.
I guess they're coming back on here. Clark, thank you for your time. Thank you for what you've done for junior curling over the years, and I'm glad I'm not having to coach against you. He says he will again. I like the sound of that. I'm going to hold you to it. All right. Well, one of the big things, when you give up an end like Team Shaw did, you can't go crazy the next end, all right? Yes, it's 6-1, but they got half a game here to still go, 4 ends. The most important thing is that they score this end. Yes, one doesn't do a whole lot of good, but you certainly don't want to give up a steal because you try and get back those 4 points they just gave up all in one end. So let's look at it. I'd love to see Team Shaw not be trying to go around corner center guards. He's putting up his corner guard, and obviously I like that. I'd like to see this one go into top 4-foot rather than out front at this point in time. Force Team Shaw to consider, hey, do we leave a scoring rock close to the button on the center line in there? Or do I put up another corner or come around my corner? But if this set ends up as a center line guard, that's not going to get to the center line, but it is a guard. All right, I like this. That's the way Melvin, going around his corner guard. You put that guard there for a reason. And again, to score more than 1 point, you only need one guard. Make a perfect come around on this corner. You've got your deuce set up right from the start. I mean, obviously a lot can go wrong from then, but you don't need to put up multiple corners. They've already got another rock complements the other team out front of the rings. And look at this shot. Come on, get her. Very nice. In front of the tee line, perfectly buried. The opposition cannot remove the guard at this point in time. Obviously, if the free guard zone wasn't in effect, you'd see that run back attempt / peeling the guard. But the 5-rock rule now doesn't allow that. So the next best alternative he's come up with is to imitate that last draw, come around in corner free zone.
Come on, you got it.
And wow, I think red is still shot, but that's a mighty fine shot. It doesn't take much of a tap to all of a sudden have the blue buried behind there and counting. So, Melvin now coming around the opposition's guard out front, and that's why I didn't like that rock. He's got a 5-point lead. When you have a 5-point lead, you really want that rock in there, and I suspect he did want it in the house, and sometimes plans are not always what ends up happening. This has got tight. It's tight on that guard. Not a lot Melvin can do about it at this point in time. Just let it slow down and hope it doesn't raise it into the house. Well, I'm not... that's not all bad in that it actually makes it a little more difficult for that blue rock to be raised onto the red. It still can be done, and yeah, he's going to try and tick it onto the red. Might be hard to tick it and keep it shot after this is done. We'll see. It's a lot of ice, so it's not going to have a lot of weight. Yeah, coming down. Going to be just slightly off the red, but it will roll in. Yeah, I'd be pounding that. Every inch counts. Looks like Melvin's asking for a nose hit. Wouldn't hurt to hit and roll a little bit to the right. Julia removing, I don't know, maybe I guess they were trying the double on the blues. Didn't quite turn out. The problem with that is it's made it relatively easy to run the blue into the red. And that's the call. Melissa Foote being asked to hit the right side of that blue rock. I like the weight. Sweeper's not touching it yet. It does have to curl. It does make it so that blue is now counting, and it is pretty much behind the guard. There is a port. They could come through and get that red rock. The other possibility is slashing the red, which is probably the easiest way of getting it. Just taking a look. No, you can come straight through the port and get the red, but with this the ice though, I'm thinking he's playing for either a tap or a draw.
Pretty good. Leading back four.
Nothing on the sweeping yet. I think they're going for the tap because if it was a straight draw, they would have been sweeping earlier. So they were going for they had to wait for line for the tap. Going to plan B for the draw may have worked. So Eric, starting to see more red rocks accumulate than he'd like, but he is counting, and not easy to remove red rocks at this point in time. Most of them are behind another rock. The only one that isn't is the one that was just thrown. But you hit it on the wrong side, your own blue rock would disappear. So I think he's settled to go for a guard. Maybe he's trying to go through the port. They're sweeping hard. Yep, I think that's what the plan is, going through the port. And I'd say that ended up being a pretty good plan. Again, lacking cowbells over here on sheet C. Yeah, there's Clark Raven. Clark just went ding-a-ling there. Yeah. All right, looking for the run back. Not easy, though. It is possible, but it has to get by that second red rock. The good news is that it probably will end up moving some blue rock, whether it's the blue on the right or the blue that's counting. Something's going to change. Oh, the bell should be going again. Wow. That's a nice end result. Not positive that was the call, but we're going to say it was because really nice end result there. Shaw now line 2 and an additional potential counter up front should things change before the last rock is thrown. But Eric can remove this and be counting first, I think, first, third, and fourth, probably. And Eric, if I've been saying creme wrong the whole way, but I think that sounds very sophisticated, creme. I like it, so I'm sticking with it. And obviously, it didn't offend you because you just made a great shot being known as Eric Creme. That's pretty good. Yeah, I agree, Melvin. That's about all you have is coming around the red. Forget about trying to get that red counting over on the left-hand side. I think that's gone for you. Just make a nice draw around this red one on the right, and you can still get a couple of points here. Sweeper's going hard, right out of hand. Melvin's same for line as well. They have to get it almost to the 4-foot to be out counting that shooter on the counter on the left. Right now the line is fine if they've got the... Oh, no. So although Red Rocks are counting, I would not be bothering with them right now. I would put another pressure on, come around. You do have to watch that you don't leave anything where they can double in, but it's pretty hard to double that blue out. It's going to go into that red all day long. I think pretty safe. Come around, put more pressure on, draw behind the reds. He's doing a smart thing, taking lots of ice here. Don't raise the red for them. It's conceivable he could even just be saying, hey, I'm happy taking one. If I block the draw path, they're not going to have an easy way to get to the 4-foot. So we'll see whether he's throwing something to stop in as a guard or whether he's going to come right in, put more pressure on by biting the 4-foot behind the red guards. Out that wide, I think he must be just planning on guarding the port. Right now it's way out there, not moving a lot. And gets a roll and makes the port a little bit smaller. So Melvin and Courtney realizing that 1 point, yes, it's not really what they want here when they've got hammer, studying all possibilities of getting more than one. If they called a timeout, I'm afraid I wouldn't be much help to them in trying to figure out how to do it. They're sort of looking, could they hit the red, have the one red jam on the blue on the right, and the first red they hit, just if it's skinnied off, would it go off and hit the blue on the left. But as I said earlier, what you don't want to do after giving up a big end is let the team steal on you. Get something back on the scoreboard. So I think if I was coaching them, the odds of making this ending up with a counter are so slim, I would say try and draw that port to get a biter for your one. The odds of getting more than one doing this are not high. The odds of giving up a steal are even higher. But a nose hit, it'd be interesting to see what happens if she hits it right on the nose and hard. And she's throwing it hard. All right, this can be entertaining because it's... we're not going to see the possibility, but that looks like two blue to me, but we'll have to wait for it to go up on the scoreboard. Yeah, I think, it could have. And hats off, they're sort of looking at the scoreboard. I think if it had been a tight game, they would have said, hey, let's try and make sure we get our one. But they're saying one's not going to do any good. If we hit it on the nose, they might get two. But this happens so often that, you get down and you just see the scoreboard continue to look uglier as you try and get back in the game. But you do have to take risk, too, If you're down, you're not out there to lose by a little bit. You're out there to win. And that sometimes when you get down, you do have to take risk. I don't see any action going on over on sheet A now. So I am assuming that game is over. The scoreboards, the last thing up on the scoreboard is the fifth end, and it was 7-0 for Team Pulley at that point in time. And so if that game is over, we are going to see bonus curling here in Rochester, because Team Pulley still only has one loss. If Team Casper continues the way they're going right now, they're up 8-3 after 5. They will go through the round robin undefeated with 0 losses, obviously. So Team Pulley will take on the junior team, and it will not quit until one of those two teams has 2 losses. So obviously Danny only has to defeat Team Pulley once the first game and it's over. But if Team Pulley wins that one, then it'll go to another game, and the winner of that second game will be the representative of the GNCC in Chaska, Minnesota. All right, these rocks going pretty much according to plan here. Team without hammer and the lead, trying to come into the house on the center line. The team without hammer and behind, going to the wings and out in front. So critical that Shaw rock did not slip into the rings. That is just a killer when you're trying to catch up if you lose that guard, because undoubtedly the opposition would be licking their chops to remove it. So he's looking for a nice tight guard, not looking for anything long here. In fact, I would not be unhappy if it even came into the rings. It would be fine. At this point, the goal of Team Creme would be to just make sure that an unacceptable outcome is not incurred. And the fewer rocks in play, the more likely that's going to happen. On the other hand, you know, lots of times you see in clubs, it's sort of just like on the football, they go into prevent defense and the other team keeps picking up 15, 20 yards at will because they've gone into prevent defense. If your team isn't equipped to play defense and just go straight takeout at club curling, that's not something you might necessarily want to do. Your strategy got you a big lead, maybe you stick with it. But here, teams are pretty good at making rocks disappear if they want them to. So generally, you see teams with leads starting to eliminate rocks pretty quickly when they're able to. So it looks like Eric's, I thought I saw him indicate he wants a guard. So he's going to stick with the strategy that's got him here, it looks like, and continue to go for steals. And mixed doubles curling has, no, this one's coming in. I like this a lot better. I don't care what happens. It's not going to be another guard out front. Tapping it up would be great. Yeah, I like that a whole lot better than putting a guard up front, and hopefully that's what the call was. So Melvin trying to make use of his corner guard, saying that, hey, if we don't get by it, rubbing off the blue and rolling in behind the center guard, that's okay too. But you're not going to see him throwing too many hits until he has to make rock score. Sweepers going at it right away, but not killing it. So they must think it's pretty close to what they want. There it goes, curling hard that direction again.
I thought those were a secret.
All right, Jason Golubsky being asked to put a guard up. Well, I thought he was asked to be a guard, but it looks like he's coming close to tapping a blue. All right, Melvin is going to have to do something to start moving rocks to find ways to get into the rings, and he is going to have to find a way to get that blue rock out. Right now it's being guarded by a couple of staggered blue rocks plus a red guard right on the 4-foot line. And Julia being asked to throw a little weight at this. I think he'd love to see a raised double, and so would the fans here. I will find a cowbell if we get a raised double here. As for sweeping now, it's off. It's got to be close. All right, raise for one. That's still cowbell worthy in my mind. Ding, ding. There you go. I like this call. Potential red counter in the house. Make it go away. If it's not in the rings, it's not going to count. Not a lot of weight. It does curl this way. You got to go. That's looking at it now. It's pretty nice control weight, but they're still going at it. Oh, all right. Team Shaw happy with that outcome because it kicked the shot rock that was really getting to be in a tough spot to try and get out. Right, completely out in the maybe it's about 7/8 open. Melvin, the skip, throwing the 5 and 6 rocks. I really like the takeout weight he throws here. This is so nice. He's going to even get an inside roll on this. But go right back where I said it was so difficult before to get out. But it is a rather nice 1/3 type hit to double these reds out. But Eric, he'll be very happy at this point in time just making a red disappear. But he's not going to get much of a better opportunity in this one to actually double the rocks out. But this one is not going to curl enough. That's the one spot on all 4 sheets. I'd say that's the one spot that's straighter than anywhere on any sheet. Oh, the junior's just making a nice shot over on sheet B. And juniors, maybe you think that's less experienced, but these, almost all of them, well, at least Susan, I know, has been curling. I don't know how long Danny's been curling, but Susan's been curling since she was old enough to throw a little rock. So probably about 13, 14 years. All right, Melvin just needs to be a counter. It's going beyond the other one, like we talked before. Don't want to leave it where the previous rock was, where a double was possible. Now, I'm not enamored with this shot. One of the things you always want to consider in what shot to call is based on Fesray, Fesrai. Free guard zone is the F. The E is what end you're in. Okay, we're in the 6th end, the third last end of the game, which is different than if we were earlier in the game, obviously. But it affects the shot calling that you're going to do. S is the score, and that's the big one here. All right, he has a 7-point lead. He has a opposition rock that is counting, and I would just make it go away. You can afford to give up 2. You can afford to give up 3, but attempting to draw, they come around. If they're able to get it out and not roll out, all of a sudden there's 3 red rocks in the house. So yes, he might end up stealing here, and he's, it gets back to make the shot that's called. But that's still possible to come down with hack weight and move that one through the rings and keep the shooter. It's going to have to be a good shot by Courtney, but it is possible. And it's possible, Eric, you could be looking at 3 red rocks on your next one. And are you going to decide to draw again and possibly give up 4? Or you might end up stealing 1 by going for the draw. But Fesre, all right, would say that the end in the score and the fact he doesn't have hammer would have indicated, I think, in my books, if he called the timeout and I was able to go out, I would say, hey, just get rid of the counters. But in this case, he's going to say, what are you talking about? See, I called this, they miss, and I'm going to end up stealing. He's going to cap it now with a guard. So it all works, but it really counted on the opposition not making a shot rather than you making a shot. The other things that come into Fesre in determining your strategy for an end or a particular shot. All right, we've already talked about F being the free guard zone, E being the end that you're in, S being the score. R is for the rock. Which rock are you throwing? In this case, it was a skips rock, but also rock stands for whether you have last rock or not, whether you have the hammer or not. And that comes into how you're going to play the end, what strategy you're going to be. A, at club curling, is maybe the most important one of all of them, and that is the ability of your shooter and the ability of the other team. If you're got a bunch of curlers, most of your team is made up of folks who've only been curling 1 or 2 years, hey, you're not going to be calling peels, you're not going to be doing strategy that you're watching on TV. You're going to be calling shots that they have the ability to get some value out of every shot, and you're not going to be asking for anything more than board weight takeout. So a big one in teams with less experienced curlers. And I is the ice conditions. Here is not a huge factor. You do have to watch it. Sometimes you don't have the ability to make a shot just because, hey, the ice is not going to allow you to do it. But at top competitions, that's usually not a case. But sometimes the ice will dictate what particular shot you call. So there you have it. FESRAI. Put that in your strategy book for what you're going to call any particular end and how you're going to go into an end and have an end plan. All right, a big shot here, asking for a double. The rocks side by side. This is the most difficult double you can be asked to do. Obviously, not the desired result, but that was going to be a very difficult double. You have to be right in the middle of those 2 rocks for those to disappear, and that's enough. Just not team shots day to day. So there you have it. That will be the end of the competition for both of the teams, and they have handshakes over on the other one as well. Danny Casper taking the victory there and going undefeated through the round robin. Congratulations to them, and again, congratulations to Team Pulley, because we get to see more curling later this afternoon. So, again, this is Wayne Anderson signing off from Rochester Curling Club, the 2020 GNCC Mixed Championship.
Yeah, could have been. It's getting a little slick.
We're going to crank the chiller a little harder. we're still like early, right? Like, yeah, right. That whole line now. We're in great shape.
And then he comes over to me and says, "Good job. You were really consistent." Yeah, I hope so.
From the Rochester Curling Club in Rochester, New York, it is the final day of the 2020 GNCC Mixed Playdowns. I'm Bill Drumright. When this tournament started on Thursday afternoon, 7 teams are competing for the right to represent the GNCC at the USCA Mixed National Championships, scheduled for March 28th to April 4th in Chaska, Minnesota. We have gone through 7 rounds of draw, and now we are down to the final rounds. And the teams will be the Casper Rink from the Ardsley Curling Club in Ardsley, New York, and the Pulley Rink from the Rochester Curling Club here in Rochester. The teams got to this point in the tournament through 7 draws. Casper, 6-0 record, followed by Pulley at 5-1. The Crummey Rink of Utica finished at 4-2. Marashulo from Amherst at 3-3. Shaw from Potomac at 2-4. Mooney from Plainfield at 1-5. And Prohaska from Plainfield at 0-6. Now this is the round where basically it's a double elimination tournament. And so if Casper wins this match, they will be the champions, and they will be scheduled to represent the GNCC at the Nationals. If Pulley wins this match, then there'll be a last match at around 3 p.m. today to decide the winner. Working with me is longtime junior curling coach, longtime curler, and the proud father of Rochester's second, Emily Anderson, Wayne Anderson. Wayne, welcome.
Hey, Bill, thanks for letting me join in here. Looking forward to this match.
When we're looking at a match like this, when you're coming to this stage of competition, what are some of the factors that has one team allowed them to then be better over the other team?
Well, I think, Bill, it all starts with the fundamental shot making. And in this case, we have 2 teams that you're going to see them making shots. So the ability to make any kind of shot, I don't care whether it's a draw around the center guard, whether it's a peel, front back, whatever, you expect these teams to be not worried about calling the call because it really makes shots. So we're going to see a good thing. We're going to be able to watch a game where there's going to be good strategy, both from our experienced skips and competitive skips. So we're going to see good strategy and good shot making is my expectation.
In terms of the ice conditions, both teams have talked favorably about the ice here on Sheet C, but both teams have also remarked that the ice tends to fall toward the side board. It falls away, would be to the left as you're going to the house, to the back wall, to the right, and the house coming down to the warm room. Does that have any will that have any factor in your mind in terms of, strategy and tactics?
Not a lot. They'll be aware of it. The ice is really good. I really love the speed here. We've got up to as much as 15-second ice from hog to hog. Might range down to 14.5, but that's really, really nice speed. The fact that we've got a little bit straighter on one side, these teams, they already know that. They're going to know which way they're going to rattle come around the guard. They're going to know which way where it's going to run straight. So, yes, ice conditions is always one thing that is taken into consideration in terms of what strategy you're going to use, but this ice is good. Ice conditions are not going to be a factor in terms of who wins this match. They're both going to be able to do it. The ice is great, but like you say, it is a little straighter on the one side, but they know it and they'll play it that way.
One of the things also, too, the Pulley team is going to be facing the challenge of winning 3 matches in one day. Now, they did win the first match this morning in the 7th draw, but is that a factor in a sense of trying to come back to win? I mean, in other words, how wearing might that be on them physically and mentally?
Well, they're both going to be playing the same number of games, so I don't worry about that. These teams also know that you don't look ahead. You look at the shot that you're playing right now. All right. Yes, you have an end plan, but your mind is focused right on the present. And to be honest, manages to pull off this match. You hear it in all sports. Where's the momentum going? There's a lot to be said. If it goes to a third match, the momentum would be with the Pulley rink. So I don't think that's going to be an issue as to who wins that last game, the fact that they're having to win 3 in a row.
One thing, too, now the ice conditions seem to be such where a team can play either more like a draw behind cover type of game or more of a takeout game. When you're in your familiarity with the Casper rink, do they tend to prefer one over the other?
They will play the proper strategy for what the scoreboard in the end are saying. I was talking in the last broadcast that, any junior camp or any adult camp you put on, you're going to talk about fez rate. There's things that come into an end strategy. It's going to be the free guard zone. You're going to take advantage of the free guard, right? And this rink right away, you see a corner guard there put up by the team with hammer. That's to be expected. All right, they're going right at it, and teams since then have been coming around. The pulley rink has a couple of nice guards in behind, but that's to be expected. So they took advantage of the free guard. The end you're in, the beginning of the game is different than the strategy you're going to use in the later ends. The scoreboard, you can never forget about what the scoreboard is. In fact, lots of times we're debating which shot to call. I'll tell the skips to turn around and look at the scoreboard. Lots of times I think they would say, what are you calling? I like what Casper did. This was not really developing his aim, right? He has hammer. Yes, they weren't on the center line, but hey, he's going to want to make sure he scores. He's be very happy blanking this end. So, hey, corner guard wasn't working out. I like the fact that he said, hey, I took a look at it. I'm deciding to bail while I've still got a bunch of rocks still to come. All right? So you've got free guard zone, what end you're in, what the score is, that'll determine it. R stands for rock. Not only whether you have last rock or not, that's a huge decision as to where you're going to put your rocks, but also which rock in the end. Just for example, that was a bail rock.
Jay! Yeah, more, Jay!
That had still been the second's first rock, or the lead second, he'd still be trying to come around, but he's saying, hey, I'm going to bail now. It's where I am and then which number of rock I'm throwing. And then A stands for ability. And I was also saying in a previous broadcast, for club curling, A is maybe one of the biggest things, right up there with who has last rock. Ability of your players. Make sure that you're calling a shot that they can make. As I said at the beginning, that is not a factor in this game. They have the ability to make any shot right up and down this lineup.
And since we're right into the first end right now, at this point, Rochester is lying to. Rochester has the blue stones. Ardsley has the red stones. Ardsley has hammer. And so, shooting right now, I believe it's the third. It's Sydney Mullaney from Ardsley. It's applying an intern handle, looking to pick off that guard up front, which it does, and picks on through. Rolls a little bit to the right. In this situation here, Wayne, Pulley would probably like to be able to steal one if they can, but if nothing else, are they setting up also to cut down Ardsley to one if it came to that?
Right. We talk. You'll see these teams get together after the end of every end for a brief little meeting. They get a minute between the ends, and they take advantage of that and sort of take a look and say, okay, they don't really talk so much about the last end. Okay, if it was a bad end, forget it. Right? They're talking about what are we going to do this upcoming end. And this end, the first end, really what Pulley is looking for is to force the other team to take one. Now, they've got an advantage here, so they'd be very happy to be in the bonus territory of actually stealing. But they will play this to try and force the juniors to actually take one. So we'll see how it develops. Danny still has one whole half of the sheet and the button open. So in all probability, I'd say given their ability, they're still going to score in this end. And both teams will come ahead happy if that happens. Casper will say, yes, we scored. We only got one. That wasn't our goal. We wanted more. Pulley, on the other hand, if they can force them to take one, even though they didn't score it, they're going to say, hey, we achieved our goal of forcing them to take one and get that hammer back to the second half.
Ardsley now has shot rock after Mullaney's second stone, but the rock is exposed. Now we're down to Skip's rocks. This is Caitlin Pulley of Rochester. She was a member of the 2011 U.S. Women's National Championship team. And the Pulley team did represent the GNCC last year at the mixed championships that were held at the Denver Curling Club in Golden, Colorado. This is her first stone of the first end. Both of these teams, being very skilled teams, play quickly with dispatch. They make their judgments. and then they get in right in the hack and they do the job. So this is the first stone now for Caitlin Pulley. It looks like she is trying to play a type of takeout with a roll to the right. Applying an in-turn handle as a right-hand shooter. Coming down. One sweeper on it. Jeff Pulley as third, judging. Now super back on it again. Coming over a controlled weight here, because not just as important, right? It rolled to the left though, so it does expose the stone as shot rock. Although Pulley is setting 3 at this point, the shot rock is exposed. This will be the first stone of the first end for the Ardsley skip, Danny Casper. And this is going to be an important situation here in terms of basically setting themselves up. As Wayne was saying, Pulley certainly would like to just keep Casper down to 1 at the most here if they don't get a chance to steal. And now Casper's shot here will make a big difference in terms of that tactic. So when we're looking here at this type of situation here, Wayne, when you're talking about a hit and roll like this, you're looking at both the speed but also the placement of the stone, the strike on the rock.
Absolutely. If he hits half of this rock, he's going to end up in a very nice or he might even double it out. And so he's going hard right now. That's what you see the He's got the roll. Could have used a little bit more.
This is partisan. We're going to be a partisan crowd here on both sides, so it's going to sound like at times we're at a World Cup ski event with all the cowbells. So you just have to be aware of that, folks. If you hear that tinkling sound in the back there, that clanking. No, this is not Switzerland. No, you're not talking about the old children's story Heidi here, okay? Now we have the last stone in the first end here for Caitlin Pulley. And it looks like, again, Wayne, they're going to try, in a sense, a type of hit and roll and tuck over to that right side as close as they can. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I would say this is a finesse shot. She threw a very nice weight on the last one, so did Danny. And you mentioned, hey, keeping the shooter around is really key. In this case, it's really make that red rock disappear. And it would be beautiful. Even just hitting it on the nose would be pretty good. She hits it on the nose. Danny can't hit her on the nose because the back is it. So the key is to make that red rock disappear. Beautiful. Look at the soft weight coming in here.
She has a very good guide right there. And she taps. And yes, it taps the red out. So now in this case, the bells will let you know that they liked the shot that Caitlin Pulley played. Now we're down to the last stone of the first end for Danny Casper, the skip from Ardsley. Ardsley comes into this round with a 6-0 record, undefeated, and they won their first match this morning, defeated the Prohaska rink of Plainfield 9-3. Pulley defeated the Mooney rink from Plainfield 7-0. So in this situation here, Wayne, to get one, the way it's looking right now, you're looking at are you looking at a full 4 foot, or something different?
That is a full 4 foot. And now here's the advantage. Watch these 2 sweepers that he's got here, and he's going to hand this to them. I'd be very surprised if Danny throws this where he's not utilizing those sweepers. They are so good, so strong. This also shows that confidence that they have to draw. He could hit here and be maybe giving up 1. But I don't like this. The sweepers are not looked at it. They're starting to look at it now, but not looking like they're utilizing those sweepers we talked about.
It looks like it's going to get swept through. And it's swept to the back. And so after the first end here, Pulley team has taken, they've stolen 3. And after the first end, it is the Pulley rank 3, Casper rank 0, and we'll be back after this short break.
All right, I'll hold the mic because I had one more comment I was wanting to get in before there, was that really showed a confidence in throwing that draw, because he was looking at 3 in first end. I mean, trying to find that draw weight, full 4 foot. He had the option of throwing that same weight that he just saw Caitlin throw. Yes, he probably would have given up 1, but it would have been pretty easy to come down, tap it through, sit second shot, give up 1, have hammer in second, and say, hey, we can just pretend we didn't have hammer in the first end and we forced them to take 1, and now we got hammer in 2. But that's the confidence. Sometimes confidence is good, confidence is needed, but in that case, there was an unacceptable outcome of giving up a steal of more than one, which could have been avoided if he had just gone for it, said, let's play it safe and just make an open hit.
This is the first stone of the second end for Rochester lead, Jason Scott. Now, Wayne, let me ask you here, now that you, with a team up 3-0 like that, any potential alterations in strategy or tactics when you have them, when you've stolen multiple points?
Well, there's no doubt that Caitlin's going to do what she just did here. She asked for the rock in the house. Now she's going and saying out front because it's actually light what she asked for. The correct call is exactly what she did. She said, come top four, because she knows Danny will not hit that in all probability, being down 3, although it's early. And if she had put that on the top button, this is what I would like to tell especially club members. With the 5-guard free zone rule that we've got in place now, I love the delayed corner, that if that rock had gone where Caitlin asked, right on the center line, biting the button, I would love them to come down and hit it and roll to the back quad. And then regardless of what Team Pulley does on the next one, put your delayed corner up, put your corner guard up next, okay? They're putting it up now, and I like that better than coming around, all right? But the short answer to your question is, yes, it affects definitely. Caitlin was not going to put up a guard because she anticipated that Danny would put up a corner guard anyway.
The first stone of the first end for Susan Dutt, the lead from Ardsley, basically was a kind of a right high corner guard as from the shooter facing the house. Second stone now for Jason Scott. It looked like that Caitlin Pulley is calling for a draw around the front guard to draw into the house here. He applied an in-turn handle. It's coming down. It is starting to move pretty quick. Doesn't look like it's not going to reach the house here. What you effectively will have now is basically 2 stones guarding a center with now a biter. So yes, at this point, Pulley is shot. And now it looks like the second stone for Susan Dutt, lead from Ardsley. Danny Casper is calling for a takeout and a roll. He has stone is exposed. It is open here. Coming down, applying an out-turn handle. Now, one thing about this, there's been a tendency on this ice is that it tends to hang. And this one's hanging. And this one's hanging. It might be hanging too much. And it does touch, but it does not touch hard enough to go out. So now, basically, Pulley is still 1. Their stone is located in the 12-foot above the tee line, left of the center line from the shooter's perspective here. Now we have the second for Emily Anderson, the second for Rochester. Calling looks like for an intern.
Bill, you just made the mistake that I did. Yes, I told you she's my daughter, but I called her Emily Anderson in, I think, the first draw. She just got married in September, so we now have Emily Pinelli. And Charles sitting here right beside you, he's going to say, take on that. We'll keep her curling name as Emily Anderson Pinelli, though, all right?
Mr. Pinelli, my apologies to you. Congratulations. And I hope you have many, many happy years together. Okay. All right. My apologies. Okay. So we had the Emily and Anderson Pinelli second, bumped in. Now Rochester is setting 2 here, and effectively a split house, it looks like. So now we have Ardsley second. First stone of the second end for Ardsley second, Eli Clausen. And does it look like here he's calling like a hit and roll, pretty sharp angle?
Yeah, the flat double is there, but he's really wanting to keep the shooter, and he's not throwing the weight to try and make a double. What I like, you asked earlier about, hey, does the score change the strategy here in the end? And some people might say he's losing 3-0, so why is he hitting? Because it's the second end, right? You give up a big end. The most important thing to do is to make sure you don't get a steal up the next end. And as long as he comes back and scores something this end, we have a tight match after 2 ends, you know?
So in other words, consolidate, avoid loss or consolidate in this case. And now we have the second for Emily Anderson Pinelli, okay. It's coming down. Looks like a takeout here on the Ardsley stone, which is setting 2 at this point, coming in. And takeout successful, and now Rochester's back to 2. And one question I'd like to ask you, Wayne, when you have ice that is keen in that, does it make it in certain ways more straightforward to do takeout weights, that you don't have to throw as hard, or you have a greater option of range of weight for a takeout?
Well, this is nice. What do you have on championship ice? And this is very nice ice comparable to that, where you don't have to throw a lot of weight to keep the rock straight. It'd be nice, and especially if you have good sweepers, they can lay it down. Watch this rock coming down here. It's not curling yet. The sweeper's watching it. Now they're trying to make it curl. That's why you see pushing, we call it pushing the rock, trying to get it to come back in. That's hard to do on takeouts to do it. It's actually on draws, though. Pushing can be more effective than trying to keep the rock straight, which surprises a lot of people. But that's sort of what testing has been showing.
That was Eli Clausen's second, and now it's Ardsley is setting one, first stone for the third. Jeff Pulley of Rochester, second in. One of the things about this ice here, and I'm saying it as club member, it does tend to finish, particularly on a softer shot, so the stone can move if you don't get on it quick enough. Now Pulley hit, you got a roll here. Looks like it rolls, it's rolling behind. So the shot rock now for Rochester is on the back right quadrant as the shooter's facing the house behind the tee line to the right of the center line. Now this is the first stone of the second end for the Ardsley third, Sidney Mullaney. Looks like he's going to be applying an out-turn handle here. Looks like they're playing for a draw.
Actually, he called the hit and roll, and I really like this. Again, it's sticking with what I'm talking about, trying to make it still score. And he's not worried. We said up front, we're going to see good strategy here. That's what these guys are. This is hitting that straight spot again. But still, he's making it so that he can score. There's still a good chance he may end up scoring two here yet, even playing this way. You don't have to have tons of rocks to score 2 points. You need one guard that you make a good draw around at some point in time and have the ability to score.
And so Mullaney's just hit and rolled out, but also hit out the Rochester second stone. Now we have the second for Rochester third, Jeff Pulley. Looks like playing an in-turn handle here. Caitlin Pulley is set out to the far left on the 12-foot where the broom is. Stone is coming down over the edge of the symbol of the Canadian flag sunk in the ice. It's coming down, looking to draw around the guard, set behind cover. Sweepers are really on it hard here. Really on it hard. Really on it hard. And it's really coming down. It's going to finish up high. It's going to finish above the tee line. And it looks like they got full 8 foot above the tee line on the left side, the left quadrant, front left quadrant, as the shooter faces the house. Now we have the second for Ardsley's third, Sidney Mullaney. Now in this situation here, what is Danny looking to do?
Well, at this point, we are getting late in the rocks now. How many rocks we got? We got, this is her second rock that we got coming. So sort of clearing now is he's looking for trying to figure out how am I going to get two, and he's looking at corner freezing on the one that was just beautifully thrown around. And if that rock had slipped behind the tee line, he'd have a no-brainer. He'd come around and freeze right on top of it. That was the beautiful thing about that being swept and stopping right where it is. It's not a nice distance away from the guard, perfectly behind it. And he could corner freeze on it, but if Pulley then decides to put a guard in front of that, he's by being on the corner, they're still lying two. So he's thinking about maybe possibly freezing on the back. I probably wouldn't be calling a hit at this point in time now. I'd be trying to figure out, okay, let me put something. Well, we'll see what he's doing. The broom could be a hit or it could be a draw.
Yes, in this case here, but he will need stones in the house near the 4 foot to try to give himself a chance to score. Mullaney is applying an out-turn handle. It is coming with a little bit of speed here. It is coming with speed. And it looks like it's hanging out there. It'll get to the stone, but and it stays. Okay, so right now Pulley is 1. Ardsley is setting 2. Now, in this situation here, Wayne, for Caitlin Pulley, she's trying to set up a steal. What would she be trying to do?
She's actually back, Bill, going to what I was talking about before, trying to force them to take one. So she's going to make sure that red rock disappears. It's not in the house, it's not going to count, right? And they're down to 2 rocks to come now. So worst case, she's giving up 2, which is an acceptable outcome. But if she can get rid of this rock plus 1 more, her goal of forcing them to take one and getting that hammer back is in the bag. So the key is I would not actually hit and roll towards the center line. I would be happier hitting and rolling, either hitting in the nose or just like he pointed. And that's what I said, great strategy here, hitting and rolling out, which a lot of club players wouldn't say, well, that's not getting close to being scoring. But your objective is to force them to take one. You're respecting the other team. These guys have the ability to make that last shot. So you're respecting their ability. You're saying, hey, if I hit and roll out, now his choice to try and get more than